cardiorespiratory benefits of just like easier running, it's really important to do that kind of stuff. And I think that you were one of the first people to explain that in a way that convinced me of the true importance of, if you want to call it zone 2 running, if you want to call it easy running, whatever it is. So talk to us about why actually doing some easy running or zone 2 running for most of what you're doing is actually the best way to do it, not just from all the different angles of consistency and longevity, but also like cardiorespiratory recovery, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the conversation I have the most often when I onboard an athlete is, I can look at their data coming in or just listen to their history from the intake form. And most everyone is generally just running their easy runs too fast.
Yep.
And I think it's because there's like this badge of honor of like, oh, well, I run 5 miles in 45 minutes, or I run 5 miles in 40 minutes, or it's like that's the window of time and they're committed to 5 miles. So they'll just run as fast as they need to get it done in the allotted time. And our body, I tend to reiterate, like our body doesn't know pace and it doesn't know distance. It just simply knows stress and duration. So it knows how hard am I working and how long do I have to do it. And that gives you this freedom where your easy pace or your zone 2 or however you want to label it, is really just like, it literally needs to feel easy. And so the guidelines I typically give my runners is, if you can't have a full conversation, or if somebody's trying to talk to you and you're annoyed that they want you to talk, that's like your number one like red flag. I'm like, I'm working too hard. So I'm like not really following the intention of today's workout if I'm working that hard, because we want to train the systems that allow us to run. And for a distance runner, 98-99% of that race is built on your aerobic capacity, which is your engine. So your heart and your lungs. How efficiently can they pump blood to the periphery and get it back, and just keep doing that on repeat, right? And so that easy run is what builds that aspect of your fitness. I mean, mitochondria density, your ability of the efficiency of your heart rate, kind of just building that oxygen exchange process in the respiratory system. But if you're running too hard, then you tap into, and your heart rate's beating too fast. So then you kind of are shifting to a different fuel source and a different scientific execution of the run. And so the general rule I think that you can easily find out there is like the 80-20, like 80% of your running should be easy, 20% should be hard. And I think like getting stuck in that gray area of running your easies too hard doesn't allow you to run your hard workouts hard. So then you really just end up, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Because then when it's time to go hard, you've kind of depleted the energy source and the supply, and the recovery process isn't the same because you went too hard on your recovery day. Then when it's time to go hard, you're not going to hit those paces. And then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, I'm not hitting my paces, so now I'm frustrated. So what must be wrong? So let me just dial in and work even harder. And so it gives you that freedom to know easy is easy. And you, like for me, my easy pace range is like, today the dew point in Ohio is 70 and it's like 82 degrees. It's like swimming it's like swimming outside.
Yeah.
And so my easy pace is going to be upwards of like 9:30 to 10. But if it's like 50, I can like 7:30 is going to feel amazing. And so like that's a 3-minute swing, and kind of recognizing there's other factors that impact what easy feels like. Did you get good sleep? When's the last time you ate? Are you in a marital spat? Do you have like an exam coming up? Because our body just knows stress. It's not going to delineate like emotional stress from spiritual stress, from physical stress. It's just like stress is stress. And so we need to respect that aspect that factors into running performance and execution.
Yeah, that's great. When you originally you said our body doesn't know pace and what was the second thing again?
Distance.
A pace and distance, but it does know stress and duration.
Yes.
That's great. I mean, I think that really taking that to heart is absolutely critical, because then what you just said with regards to sometimes my easy running days are going to be at a different pace because of the different environmental factors or the amount of sleep that I've gotten or what I've eaten or what's going on in my personal life. And so when you run to a particular level of exertion, a particular level of stress feeling, then and you let that be your barometer, you let that be your compass, then you can allow yourself to, speed up if you're feeling great, slow down if you're not feeling great, and you can truly let that be your guiding tool when you're going out and running.
Yeah, and as I've coached middle school track in Wisconsin, and then I help out the middle school and high school here. I also like learning that early and practicing it allows you as an athlete to recognize your own pace, right? So when you tell a kid to go out and run, like, I want you to run, 80%, 90% of your max effort, that can be a little bit arbitrary and hard and nuanced. But if I'm like, hey, I want you to run hard enough that you can say one word to your neighbor, like go or quit or tired, like then they have a sense of like, oh, that's how hard I should be working. Versus if I send them out and I was like, you should be able to talk the entire time. And if that means you need to slow it down, slow it down. If it means you can speed it up and continue conversing, great. Then when they get into race pace, I think they have a better feeling of like, oh, I've been here before. My body, it's like you can find that autopilot
Yeah.
a little bit easier because you've learned to listen to your body.
Totally. Totally. Now this is going to be, let's talk. I'm going to ask this question from the angle of somebody that's not training for a marathon or anything like that, or training for any particular race. They're kind of just running to run. They might run like maybe a total of 20 to 30 miles a week. How you mentioned before the very simple ratio of 80-20, of 80% of those miles being maybe zone 2 or easy runs, and 20% of those miles being a little bit harder. How do you think about like trying to get maybe a little bit more nuanced than that? And maybe you only get more nuanced if you are actually training for a race. So maybe that is where we need to take the conversation. But when I was training for the marathon, a lot of them were easy runs. Then there were some race pace runs. There was some in between that. There was some faster than race pace runs. How do you kind of think about how you divvy up the mileage with per like level of intensity, I guess?
Sure. I feel like generally speaking, you're going to have like your threshold runs, which are going to be like your 10K ish pace. And those, like, theoretically, you want to be able to hold that pace for 40 to 60 minutes eventually. But that's where you have to like break it down into increments and allow yourself the ability to rest in between as you build that up. And then you look at your interval or repetition, like your faster reps. And that's where you're really just trying to train the anaerobic system. So you're going to be running at a much harder effort, but you're going to get a much longer recovery. So that every time you toe the line, you're going to hit that faster pace. That's either, if you're a marathon runner, it's probably going to be closer to like your mile pace or maybe a little bit faster. So, yes, it's nuanced in like, are you running for a distance or are you running for a shorter race? But I think the easy